What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPaPa, and oh my gosh, where does the time go? I can't believe we are already halfway through 2024. It is absolutely incredible how fast time goes by, and I don't know, it's just nuts. And what a year it has been. There has been all kinds of amazing things that have happened here in the Pokemon hobby in 2024. We have seen some incredible sets, we've seen some incredible price spikes, we've seen some cards that have normalized, we've seen some great buying opportunities, we've seen sealed products go nuts. It has been everything one would hope for and more, and it is just a big exclamation point on why I love this freaking hobby so much. It is just absolutely incredible out there. And I know that the title of the video was winners and losers of Pokemon cards here in the beginning of 2024, but guess what? There are absolutely no losers. Like, we are in the middle of one of the awesomest times in my mind in Pokemon card collecting. History is probably too bold to say, but I think it's incredible what's going on. We're seeing Scarlet Violet singles which are actually holding on to prices, right? We're not seeing the Pokemon pop and flop like we've seen as aggressively in the past. We're seeing alt arts that are doing amazing things, like the Sword and Shield block and how they've been selling out in Pokemon Center and spiking in price. Like, oh my gosh, what an amazing time. But that doesn't mean that we haven't had some products that have had a little more success, a little more time in the sun than others. And so we all know that when you want to make great financial decisions, it is great to buy at the time of max pessimism. So we're going to talk about some cards that are doing really, really great. We're going to talk about some cards that are struggling a little bit, some sealed products, even some different eras and we're different languages and all kinds of stuff. But when I put this up here, winners train and losers complain, I wasn't talking about getting swole like our Pokemon friends down there, right? Like sitting there hitting the gym 7 days a week, popping some whey protein and some creatine. Like, no. I'm talking about training that big, beautiful Pokemon brain of yours, right? Like getting down and dirty with the data, looking for trends, trying to understand what is hot, what is not. Should I buy into what is not? Because eventually it might rotate into what is hot. Like, that is what I talk about when I'm talking about winners train. You will never be perfect. You are going to make poor investing decisions. You are going to FOMO your little tail off at times. Like, it is going to happen. It's part of being human, which we all are. However, if you don't learn from it, then guess what? All you do is complain. So, hey, listen, we all make mistakes. I make mistakes all the freaking time, right? But my goal is always to learn from them. You'll never hear me complain when I buy a loser. You'll never hear me complain when something bad happens in the Pokemon space, because at the end of the day, I'm collecting Pokemon cards and life could be far worse. So when we talk about winners train here, let's talk about training that big old Pokemon brain. And we're going to talk about some really cool stuff that's been going on here in the space over the last 6 months. And I just want to thank everybody, because everybody who's watching this video has been a big part of the PikaPikaPaPa channel, probably for much longer than the last 6 months, but I don't always pause and say thank you as often as I should. So here in the middle of 2024, please understand how much I appreciate you. You all are the ones who make this channel happen. You all are the fuel for my tank. Like, you guys you're incredible. Like, you make my day all the time in the comments down below, and I just thank you from the bottom of my heart. So with that being said, hey, if you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, now's a great chance. It's great to make a mid-year resolution, and your mid-year resolution can be, I want to become a subscriber of the PikaPikaPaPa channel, so hit that subscribe button if you haven't. If you like this video or find value in it, give us a thumbs up, and as always, questions or comments, drop them down below. So now let's talk about some of these different sets and cards and eras and languages and what's all transpired in the first half of the year. So the very first thing I got to talk about is Fusion Strike and Evolving Skies, and really this could be peanut butter spread across all of Sword and Shield, but when you look at all of the sets in the Sword and Shield block and how they performed over the first 6 months, Fusion Strike and Evolving Skies from a top 20 singles cards perspective are in a total league of their own, okay? I mean, the Fusion Strike, if you had bought all of the top 20 singles cards in Fusion Strike in January of this year, guess what? It would have cost you a paltry $584, and if you had held on to them up until this day, guess what? It would be worth $1,072. Now, guess what? We all know that 3 of those 4 first months were not very good. There was a lot of challenges. These cards were actually dropping over the first couple months. However, if you had the wherewithal, if you were buying in while they were not performing well, if you truly were a believer that, hey, Sword and Shield is going to be great in the long run, this is going to be a fantastic era. I don't care that some of these card prices are going down. Like, I truly believe this is fantastic. Why would I pass up this buying opportunity? You would be justly rewarded, because guess what? Fusion Strike is up 84% from a top 20 singles card perspective from January to June, which is absolutely out of control. Now, Evolving Skies, talk about Evolving Skies. Same thing there, except it is very evenly spread from top to bottom. What you'll notice there in Fusion Strike is a lot of the big gains are there at the very top, but if you look at Evolving Skies, if you look at those cards and those prices from January to June, guess what? They have all gone really, really well. As a matter of fact, down at the bottom half of Evolving Skies, you see tons of cards that have 2x'd over the last 6 months. So that's incredible. The whole set, as it is, you know, the top 20 singles cards they're up 92% over the last 6 months. The other thing, not for nothing, is that in January, guess what? Brilliant Stars booster boxes, guess what? They were more expensive than Fusion Strike booster boxes. Hard to believe, 6 short months ago, Brilliant Stars booster boxes were actually more expensive than Fusion Strikes. Well, now guess what? If you look at the market value, Fusion Strike booster boxes are about $45 more than Brilliant Stars. And Evolving Skies were at $400 in the beginning in January of this year, and now they're up to $700. Absolutely insane. But the other thing that I thought was really cool to talk about was this, and we have alluded to this in the past when you looked at the Sword and Shield cards that have popped off the most. Like, some of the cards that have gained the most value aren't necessarily the biggest and the baddest. It's not the Giratina, right? It's not the Gengar. It's not the Umbreon secret alt arts, right? It's these Machamps, the Espeon, the Blazikins, like these second tier alt arts. And it's not fair to call them a second tier alt art, right? Because Machamp is the big chase card in Astral Radiance, and Blaziken is the big chase card in Chilling Reign, right? But when you think about it, these aren't the biggest and the baddest names in the entire Pokemon space yet. These are where we've seen some of the strongest gains. And when I'm thinking about how I'm going to play Scarlet and Violet long into the future, these are some of the things that I'm thinking about right now. Some amazing art, some of the headliners at the very top of these sets, which might take longer for their price to appreciate because maybe not everybody's looking at them right now. I think there's a lot of examples of that right now, and I think we're going to continue to see more examples as we get deeper into Scarlet and Violet. So kudos to these sets, kudos to these cards. It's been an amazing first half of the year for all of them. Now, as we talk about that, we got to lean into some areas that didn't do quite so hot, and Sun and Moon as a whole just has been flat most of the year. Now, you know that I track the top 20 singles cards from all sets that have booster boxes, right? You just saw that in Evolving Skies, and you just saw that in Fusion Strike on the previous slide. So what I did was these are all 12 sets from Sun and Moon, okay? And these are the percentage change for those top 20 cards, and down at the very bottom line in yellow, bright yellow, I highlighted it, you can see the overall change of the top 20 singles cards for the first 6 months of this year. And as we talk about the incredible gains in Sword and Shield, I mean, Cosmic Eclipse is a fire set. Everybody loves Cosmic Eclipse. That's an $850 booster box set right there. But guess what? The value of the top 20 singles cards for the first 6 months of this year is only up 1%. That is it, okay? And then you get to Unified Minds and Unbroken Bonds, up 4% in Unified Minds, only up 1% in Unbroken Bonds. Even the monster that is Team Up, a $2,400 booster box, right? Guess what? The singles cards are still only up 4%. And Lost Thunder, Celestial Storm, Forbidden Light, like those are 3 sets where I have said a million times over, like I love the Lugia at the top of Lost Thunder, right? There's some awesome trainer cards in Celestial Storm, but Forbidden Light doesn't have a whole lot going on for it. And overall, outside of those, like there's just not, for me, there's just not a lot of oomph in those sets. And guess what? We have seen the top 20 cards in those 3 sets actually come down over the last 6 months overall, down 3%, down 4%, and down 3%. Ultra Prism's another one, same thing, down 5%. And actually the big winner in Sun and Moon over the first 6 months has been Sun and Moon base set, right? It's got a whole bunch of those Umbreon cards in there. We've seen them pop off. We've just seen a lot of organic growth in Sun and Moon base set. It's up 17% over the last 6 months. So scratch your head, how crazy is that? Now, what we have to do is leveled up collectors and investors. We have to be asking ourselves, with Sword and Shield at all-time highs and Sun and Moon basically flat over the last 6 months, like, is this the time to buy Sun and Moon, right? Like, it kind of begs to tell you that, hey, maybe now is the time to buy Sun and Moon. Wait on some of those Sword and Shield cards. Don't FOMO in there. Let some of them come back down to earth. There's some great buying opportunities here in the Sun and Moon set. If you don't remember, in 2023, really the middle of 2023, a lot of these Sun and Moon cards just took off like a scalded rabbit. They went way, way up, similar to what we've seen in Sword and Shield. And now Sun and Moon has been working its way back down, but we're starting to see some strength. We're starting to see some momentum here in the last couple months. So is it a buying opportunity for Sun and Moon? That's for you to decide. And is this the future of Sword and Shield? Will we see Sword and Shield slow down a little bit and then flatten out for a couple months, or maybe a 6-month period, or maybe even longer? We'll have to see, but this was a big learning from me, and this was a big takeaway. Again, Sun and Moon, you could look at it as a losing start to the first 6 months, or you could say this is an awesome buying opportunity. That's up to you. Now, the next one right here we're going to talk about, another thing that struggled a little bit, and I think this is temporary. I don't know what the future is going to hold for this, but Japanese 151 has been under a ton of pressure from a sealed perspective and also from a singles card perspective ever since the restock. So this is the price history of Japanese 151 booster boxes, and you'll see, I mean, this was a $200, $180 booster box for a very long time. The restock happened, and it has been working its way down. I mean, this is a $55 booster box right now. I will say this, however, we are still in the middle of the restock. We're still still in the middle of mass quantities. So if you have a big position in Japanese 151, don't get depressed, don't get upset. We talked about this earlier on, right? Like, you're only going to realize your loss if you sell. You can sit on it, and who knows what the future of Japanese 151 sealed products are going to be. This is also a lesson for what we might see in regular English 151 later on in the year if there's some kind of big restock. Who knows what's going to happen, but I thought this was an interesting takeaway. Now, the other thing that I said, and again, this is another bit of a want moment for the Japanese space, is this graph right here comes from TCG Fish, and it's not updated, okay? The graph here, the data here is about 3 months lagging, so it's from 3 months ago. But it's enough to indicate overall movement and overall direction of the market. So what you're looking at here, the green line represents the average sold price for Japanese Pokemon cards, which is really cool. Like, that's really insightful. And you'll see, going back to May of 2021, really up until, I don't know, 6 months ago, Japanese Pokemon cards were absolutely crushing English. That green line is above the orange line. The orange line is the average sale price for English Pokemon cards. So Japanese had a premium. But what happened, and it's a perfect correlation, okay? PSA opened up a Japanese grading center, right? In the past, people in Japan who wanted to get their cards graded by PSA, they had to ship them overseas. They had to ship them to California. Well, PSA said, that's stupid. Japan is crazy over cards in general. Why don't we open up a grading center there? We're going to see a big influx of cash. We'll grade more cards and we'll make more money. So of course they did. And what happened? The market got flooded with Japanese PSA 10s because we all know the Japanese cards have such a high quality of print, which is great. I love it. The depth is amazing. The texture is amazing. They got master balls in 151 that we don't have. Like, I love everything about the Japanese cards and their quality, but guess what? When you have this massive influx of PSA 10s, you're going to see this type of price movement like you see here in the far right of the graph, right? We see that the gap between the orange line and the green line close, and I guarantee you, when we get this updated over the last 3 months with the spike that we've seen in English alt arts, I guarantee you that we're going to see that orange line actually above the green line at this point. So the average sale price in my mind for English cards is probably going to be a decent amount higher than Japanese cards right now. But the takeaway too is markets are cyclical, right? Japanese was hot for a long time. English is hot now. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? But one thing I do know is, irregardless, the Japanese promos, the special ones that we don't get over here in English that I'm insanely jealous of, that drive me absolutely nuts because I'm not smart enough to figure out how to get my hands on them at a decent price like this, they absolutely crush it, right? Like, if you know, I've been doing these new top 10 Pokemon auctions, and I did one the other day which was specifically on Japanese cards. All of these cards command a ridiculous premium. Matter of fact, that Fiesta card on the far right was a $10,000 sale. Crazy. And then you got all of these Pikachus and Ponchos. You got Luigi, you got Mario Pikachu. It is just incredible. Even that Flareon card right there, you might look at that and be like, that's not an expensive card. You can pick it up in a premium collection box. Well, guess what? That's not how they distributed them in Japan, right? It was a far less printed card and it was way harder to get. So these Japanese promos, as much as the 151 booster boxes in Japan are struggling, as much as the other singles cards are having a rough go of things, guess what? The promos are still fire and they're fantastic, and I absolutely love them, and I'm insanely jealous of any of you that have them because I don't have any in my collection. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about right here is Scarlet and Violet, and I will be the first one to say I am surprised, pleasantly surprised. I didn't expect the beginning of Scarlet and Violet to do as well as it has, right? Sword and Shield had all the momentum, all of the alt arts. Things were selling out on the Pokemon Center left and right. I kept thinking share of wallet. Everybody's going to be focused on Sword and Shield. There's no way that Scarlet and Violet is going to be able to do anything, but guess what? I have been proven wrong time and time again, and here is yet another one. Scarlet and Violet, I think, is off to a great start. I love a lot of the sets. My favorites are the Paldean Fates, the 151, Paldea Evolved, as I talked about earlier, Temporal Forces. Like, those are my big four right there. And the other thing that's really exciting to me is we traditionally see these big chase cards. They come out, they pop way up, and then they work their way down for 6, 8, 12, 15 months. We've done tons of data dives on them, but we're seeing a different trend here. And I don't know if it's because people are so excited about the way Sword and Shield alt arts are doing and they're trying to get the Scarlet and Violet version of alt arts now before they miss out further down the road. I don't know what's going on, but I do know this. We have seen some amazing cards that have had some amazing price appreciation in the short run, and it's just not what we're used to seeing. So I will tell you this, Scarlet and Violet is absolutely off to a strong start. I love it. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the newest set coming out, Shrouded Fable, but guess what? I have a lot of faith for later on in the year. And if you want to know why I have so much faith for later on in the year, this is why. This is what's kind of got me down a little bit, but it's got me down on one hand. It also has me really excited on the other, because when we think about Scarlet and Violet, I don't think we've seen the biggest and the baddest yet. I pray to goodness we haven't, right? Like, I haven't seen that Fire Pikachu coming out of the Paldea Evolved era, and I know a lot of us think that we have a set coming out that's going to have an awesome Pikachu in it, so I really, really hope so. We haven't seen some Evolutions cards, right? Like, think about the Evolving Skies alt arts, and think about that whole Evolution line. Those cards are absolutely insane from an art perspective, insane from a price perspective. We haven't seen that. I haven't seen a big Gengar yet. Like, I know Temporal Forces got Morty's Conviction, but guess what? In the Ghastly card, that is not the biggest and the baddest Gengar. I demand more from you, and I know it's coming. The Rayquaza, the Lugia, the Mewtwo, like, we've got the Bubble Mew and Paldean Fate, so we've got that, but the Mewtwo card, I just think that there's some opportunities, and I think it's coming, and that has me so incredibly excited. And this is my list of things that have done really, really well. This is my list of things that have some opportunity, and as I always say, listen, there are no losers in this. There is nothing but winners. We are collecting Pokemon cards. At the end of the day, it is really hard to make bad decisions in the long run. The only way you make bad decisions is if you get a little disappointed and you go ahead and sell things off. But for the most part, especially in the sealed space, these things do tend to raise in value over time. I think the excitement around Scarlet and Violet, while we're still supporting such big price gains in Sword and Shield, is incredibly amazing. I think that means that there's a bunch of people in the hobby, more people than ever before probably. They're willing to spend a ton of money because these cards, like, I don't know, that Magic card from Paldea Evolved at $140, like, it's holding that value. Think about that. That's a brand new card that started off at $50 and it has just shot up, and I know the print quality is bad, and I know PSA 10s are like rare birds. I get all of that, but it is just incredible to see what's going on in the space right now from two different eras at the same time. And don't sleep on Sun and Moon. I think we're going to see Sun and Moon pop off, and I did a bunch of videos earlier on the XY era and how some of those Mega Evolution cards are popping off. So it's just an incredible time to be a collector, and I'm so incredibly thankful for all of you. One final thank you. I just would not be here without you. I wouldn't do this if it wasn't for your support. So thank you so much. And if you want to be a member of the community, as I said, hit that subscribe button. If you have questions or comments, drop them down below. And as always, if you like what you see, give us a big old thumbs up. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Have a great one. I'll talk to you later. See you, everybody. Bye.